Cole glanced back over his shoulder in time to see Hank and Bonnie walk up. They were an hour late. He'd guessed from the look on Hank's face Bonnie had caused the delay. Desert Rattlers owned Bonnie's salon. It was one of their many sources of revenue. She managed it to bring in the most money, even if it meant she had to keep Hank waiting while she squeezed in one more customer. The strap to her oversized purse dug into her left shoulder. Her choice of wearing a strapless blouse had been a bad one. Oh well, he thought. The bag was about to get a lot lighter, while his and Hank's wallets got heavier. Today was one of the rare days her hair wasn't up in a bun. It hung down her back in a French braid. It almost made her look good, Cole decided, though after the way she'd abused herself with cigarettes, there wasn't a lot of hope she'd ever look good. Not like Congresswoman Susan Williams, his very public girlfriend. He couldn't stand Susan Williams. Their public affair was an arrangement to pass messages back and forth regarding the next purchase of cocaine. Cole disagreed with the system they used. It was too easy. Pictures of snow as a key word for cocaine would be guessed immediately, or sand on a beach. But then, corrupt government officials didn't exactly have the knack for hiding in plain sight. It was almost every week when another cop, attorney, judge, or lawmaker was under investigation. News stories weren't shocking about them anymore. It was as commonplace as another murder on the south side of Chicago. They had stopped reporting those stories. They claimed their setup was secure. They had set the proper expectations. Cole and Susan were in love. He shivered in distaste. He wasn't in love with her, but he had a real love affair with her money. She was a narcissist. Everything was about her and money. It was a well-known fact that she and New York District Attorney Matt Fogel had an open marriage. They had an agreement that see other people but remain married. After all, that's what some politicians did. In this day and age, people didn't think twice about arrangements like that. Anything went. Not like the days when he was a kid. In those days, affairs with public officials were kept strictly under wraps. Alternative lifestyles were unheard of. These days, people never batted an eye when he was her escort at some fancy party and Matt was at the same party with his arm around someone else. It opened the way for him to become the contact for Liza Holdings. He had to go to New York for a few weeks so they could be photographed together. There were pictures of them attending plays on Broadway, one of her passions. It was all he could do to stay awake during the performance. It was the private parties they attended that made up for whatever boredom he felt otherwise. He understood why they needed so much cocaine. It was the main staple at those parties. His little lapel recorder in the shape of the American flag had captured respectable people doing things they wouldn't want the public to know about and would pay to keep them quiet. Cole and Susan kept a friendly banter on social media as well as text messages on their phones. Hidden in those messages were code words for the next buy. No one would ever suspect they were making drug deals from reading the intimate messages between them. It made Cole's skin crawl to be associated with her. It also made him nervous. She got a little too talkative when she had alcohol in her. It was only a matter of time before her booze-loosened tongue incriminated them. He was stupid for continuing this arrangement, but the money was good, real good. Susan loved the risk. She loved the danger. She claimed she never touched the product, but Cole didn't believe her. She had a reputation for partying, as hard as she worked. Hank and Bonnie were no longer in view. They would be making their rounds. Hank would hand Cole his cut before leaving. It was a good partnership as long as they weren't found out by Slade or Diego. "Hi, Cole." He jumped, startled, at Diana's greeting. "You startled me," he blurted out as he stared up at the talent agent. "Sorry. When is the best time to talk to Jessie? I sent the final paperwork before I left New York. She hasn't responded. If she wants me to work for her, I need her signature and payment." "That's Elaine," he pointed across the tent to where Jessie's manager sat, stuffing her face with another donut. "She's in a red sleeveless blouse with jeans." "Thank you." Diana walked over to where he had pointed. Cole watched as she pulled up a chair to sit down beside Elaine. Diana unzipped the messenger bag she always had draped over one shoulder while under the opposite arm. She pulled out a laptop that looked brand new, he noticed, though not sure why. The two women started to talk. Cole got his cell phone out and messaged Hank. "Diana should appear to talk to Elaine. Meet me behind Jessie's trailer when you're finished. I'll head there now." Hank returned a thumbs up. Cole stood up, stretched, then ambled away from the tent. He skirted the area where the scene was being filmed. He could disappear between all the crates and boxes of props and other supplies used to film a movie. Hank and Bonnie had just walked up. "How'd we do?" Bonnie showed her empty bag as Hank handed him a wad of cash. They didn't say a word as they walked away from Cole, who stood there stunned. It was gone. They had sold it all. A slow grin crossed his face, but didn't stay. He put the cash in his wallet. He didn't know how Hank did it, who his contact was, or where he was getting the cocaine. Any doubts he had about Hank's ability vanished. Red, as they called Hank because of his long flowing red beard, had pulled it off. Cole was positive he could get what he needed to satisfy Liza Holdings' orders. Working behind Slade and Diego's back felt good. Those two guys were too controlling. They ran such a tight ship that if there was any extra money to be made, Hank and Cole had to walk outside the boundaries the other two guys had created. Cole didn't know how long Hank had been dealing on this side. He had only brought Cole in when Susan, who had a major crush on him, asked Hank if he couldn't get Cole involved. Cole should have stopped and thought about it, but he could never get enough money, even with all the money his book sales had brought him. He knew money was the root of all evil. How many times had his mother told him that? But it was an evil that gave him comfort in the way of nice yachts, more things for his island home, and the security company that watched over it all. He almost ran into Diana on his way back to the tent. "All done?" he asked. "Yep." She nodded as she gave him a curious glance. "What are you doing?" "Getting away from the food so I don't just sit there and eat." The lie escaped his lips before he thought about it. She nodded. Then it happened. Hank's motorcycle started up. Diana's head turned toward the noise. She didn't say a word as she watched Bonnie settle herself behind Hank. Cole felt sweat drench his shirt. Diana watched as they rode away from the parking area while he frantically tried to think of something to say. "Bonnie looks good with her hair down like that," Diana said. "I don't think I've ever seen her wear it like that." Cole could only nod. "It's a gorgeous day for a ride. I think I'll take the long way home," she grinned. "Be safe," Cole managed to speak. "I will." She gently patted his arm. Diana left. Cole went to the nearest chair and sat down. If she put it together and told Slade, Hank and him were dead. Diego and Slade would invite Cole and Hank out somewhere deserted, force them to kneel, then shoot them in the back of their heads.